Hi everyone, CF Goldblatt here, ocean futurist, author of the Luke Dodge Ocean Adventure series, founder of the Fish Reef Project. We're about halfway through the COVID crisis, in the first round anyway, and I hope everybody's doing okay out there. So I'd like to provide some food for thought. Sustainability is a word used often today. I started using it 25 years ago when I basically invented the term sustainable seafood and provided sustainable seafood into the markets as early as 25 years ago, and founded the small vessel black cod fishery, which is highly regarded as sustainable these days. But the definition still is hard to come by in conversation. In my mind, sustainability means that for humans having accessed a resource for any reason, it means that the resource in the long term is healthier for us having accessed, utilized, and even harvested it. And that should be done on a planetary scale. So if mankind is accessing and utilizing the oceans on a planetary scale, we should be leaving it healthier and more robust than we found it. And that can happen if we engage the tools that we have, such as making marine life enhancement reefs, kelp restoration, eelgrass restoration, cleaning the water in terms of stopping horrible runoff that we see even in communities like Montecito and Santa Barbara that continue today. We also need to embrace alternative thinking. Oftentimes, it is the people that actually extract the resource that develop the deepest bond because they rely on the resource for their food. If you look at organizations such as Ducks Unlimited, they restore the habitat that they hunt in. And a lot of times that habitat would not be as healthy or as productive if the hunters weren't involved. And we need to adopt that same mode of thinking for the ocean. If you turn to the ocean and you extract anything from the ocean, if you pollute the ocean for any reason, it's only reasonable to expect you to participate in rebuilding that ecosystem to be many times more productive than when you started to harvest or access the resource in the first place. It's all about alternative thinking. A lot of people ask me about sacred cows. This is an interesting one. Mankind has a tendency to anthropomorphize marine life. We tend to protect what biologists call charismatic megafauna, which means things that are big and fun to look at. Whales, sharks, giant squid, giant everything, because we can relate to them because of their size. But why are small things any less important? Why are non-mammals any less important? Did the Creator take any less care in their design? And there's the Keystone Species argument that you have to preserve one species over all others because it's at the top of its proverbial pyramid, and to remove it means harming the entire ecosystem underneath it. I think that's flawed logic, because everything in the ocean, or the world for that matter, is a keystone species for everything else underneath it. For instance, if human beings were 1 millimeter tall and we lived just 6 hours and we stood before a blade of grass, would we not want to protect that blade of grass in the same way that we protect a redwood tree now? Or if we were 1 millimeter long and we were swimming in the ocean, would we not want to protect a piece of plankton in the same way that we want to protect whales? So we need to think about these things. We need to give them a lot of thought, because when you look behind me at the ocean behind me, I'm right in front of University of Santa Barbara at Isla Vista. That's a marine protected area behind us. The ocean is not going to look like this in the future. With 9 billion people to feed, the ocean is going to be utilized for fish farming and mariculture and extraction, and we need to plan for the future and make sure that the ocean is as productive and as healthy as possible to sustain human existence. Because as we see with the COVID virus, the ocean is the final backstop to preserve our existence in terms of food security. We also need to consider human freedom in all of our equations. Because when you have people that are free, people that are relying on the ocean for their sustenance, they tend to protect it, and they tend to displace black markets, prohibition, and poaching for that matter. The abalone fishery is a perfect example of that, where there are tens of millions of abalone out at San Miguel Island and in California, but there's no fishery for the first time since the beginning of the United States. And that means it's open season every day for the poachers out there, because there's nobody except for the government to look after it. So we need to look at these things through alternative lenses if we're going to come up with the best solutions in the future. Thank you, and thank you for helping ocean life thrive.